Welcome, everyone. I'm Beck Bamberger. This is Coffee with not a journalist. That's my other podcast with the founder. I got my hair tie. I got all the things here. We're talking about San Francisco because it's a beautiful day, shockingly, because sometimes it's not here, as we know. And we do this podcast to better understand what it is like to be a venture-backed founder and why you are doing the crazy thing of doing this venture-backed founded thing. So with us today is Ben Allen. He is the co-founder and chief business development officer. Did I get that right, Ben?
Did.
Chief, okay.
Growth, co-founder, all
of
that.
GreenLite. We're going to talk about permits because we need to get permits so the big people are buying stuff or building stuff in our world. And as I was saying, Ben, you just came back from a trip and I was like, look at you with the summer glow, like looking so just like tanned and like ready to go. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
I'm very excited to be here. Thanks, Beck.
Ben, I recently saw an article. It was in the New York Times. It was talking about how the rental space, the actual leasing of space in New York City is off the charts for restaurants. People are paying, the quote was in it, if you can vent it, you could rent it. Like people are paying $100K over, et cetera, just to get into spaces. And we were just talking about the pendulum swing of everything. San Francisco is so back. Dining is so back. In New York City, blah, blah, blah. Tell us a little bit about GreenLite and permitting, because that has a lot to do in the restaurant space.
Yeah, so it's very specifically for that use, to open and safely run a restaurant, there's requirements of how you like exhaust, how you manage like oil and like cooking equipment. So when there's already permitted and built out spaces that have safely operated as a restaurant, and those come up for lease or for sale, like those are highly desirable because there's regulatory requirements to run a restaurant. So yeah, like, it's proper that our civil servants and our governments like ensure places are safe and, to include restaurants. You got to think we've learned these lessons in blood, buildings have collapsed, restaurants have caught on fire, cities have caught on fire. So yeah, like when a great restaurant space becomes available, it's a feeding frenzy to get in there. And so yeah, we're happy to unpack anything around permitting and whatnot.
Well, let's say. So, how would you say GreenLite? And by the way, full disclosure, we work with you, so I'm asking you now as your PR person. What does GreenLite do in a nutshell?
Yes, awesome. So GreenLite, we are a permitting and plan review platform. And so we deliver commercial building permits and residential building permits for our clients, at unmatched speed, transparency, and predictability. That's a little jargony, but we focus on outcomes for our clients.
Yes.
Yeah, we focus on outcomes for our clients, and that is a permit in hand, which gives them permission to build, whatever they want. Call it a home, a building, a business, a bridge, an EV charging station, 20,000 jurisdictions. Yeah, 20,000 jurisdictions in the country manage, what you build and where you build it. So we think kind of, the horizontal and then the vertical. So, zoning, and the zoning offices and city councils and whatnot, they control like where you put things. And then building departments manages then going vertical, like what you build and making sure you build safely and in a code compliant way. So GreenLite works with, hundreds of national retailers and then also local retailers and builders to accelerate their ability to get a building permit to build.
Yes, and one example I've given to people when I'm talking about you guys is like, okay, let's say you're McDonald's, you're Chick-fil-A, you're Del Toro, whatever. You're like, well, I have 10 shops I want to open in this city and stuff. Every day that is going by that you are not opening that store is how many thousands of dollars. It depends, of course, on the thing, but it can be literally 50,000 a pop, a day when the delay is happening because of the city, because someone didn't stamp the thing on the permit, because where is it? You got to call somebody. So I love this. It's just another example of ancient old industries that need so much tech advancement that it's just appalling at times, but also liberating because you're just like, oh, well, we could solve this. This doesn't need to be something where we don't need to ship something to Mars. We just need to get things technology focused. Hey, how about that?
Absolutely. So, the value prop is pretty simple, and, calculating ROI on your investment and working with GreenLite, we also make it simple. Like, so, many of our customers, we think kind of the 3 R's, revenues, rents, and royalties. And so we decided in our earlier days to go to market where people feel extreme pain around, rents, revenues, and royalties when they're delayed by permitting. So like you said, the McDonald's and the Del Toro, the Chick-fil-A's, every day they're, not open is, unearned revenues. And then every day, of rework we prevent or of just timeline we accelerate enables them to have the opportunity to say capture more revenues. If you're a big franchisor, where I used to work Driven Brands, they have all these franchisees opening and operating businesses under their umbrella. The franchisors receive a royalty. And so the permitting delays is getting the royalty. And then if you're a landlord, and you're leasing spaces, very often, rent commence, the payment for rent commences when you get through your permitting milestones in some examples. So when there's permitting delays, rents aren't being paid. Yep. And so there's a lot of value of, we like to say, removing weeks and months of kind of this dead time, in this regulatory phase that is really valuable to our clients.
So regulatory is hard, and it goes down to like each municipality and city level. How are you doing this? Now, I know how you're doing it, but I'm asking you because we're here.
So, we are an AI-enabled private plan review and permitting platform. And again, so to unpack that, 20,000 building departments manage what you can build. We saw this new emerging market that's massive, that can be pretty much described as like the privatization of building permitting. And so some forward-thinking states, legislatures and politicians and civil servants, Florida's an example. 20 years ago, Florida, due to disaster recovery following hurricanes, said, hey, we've got to be able to like recover and rebuild quickly. We're going to enable the private sector, people that have certain credentials and professional expertise, to support the building departments with reviewing plans to then issue permits. And so we call that private plan review. It's a really kind of mature program in Florida. And so we are able to act as a private regulatory agency in the state of Florida and many others. And so we have to work at the speed of business. And so many of our clients, that are developing in Florida, they come to us to get their plan review and to get their building permit. And we also do this with, our platform and our technology. We've aggregated, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions now, of prior code compliant comments. Hey, you need to move this vent or this hood in this restaurant here to be compliant. You need to move the exit sign or place it here to be compliant. We're looking at all this historical compliance data, and then it helps us review current plans, fix errors or issues that have been, present, in previous iterations of like getting a permit. It lets us build the most code compliant plans with our clients rapidly to then ensure it gets through our private plan review. We like to say one shot, one kill, one review, or where we can't be the private plan reviewer, we ensure it gets through the building department, with one review to then get the permit issued so our customers can continue to build and, open their businesses.
Because it is a lot of times the drag, the back and forth. Oh, you didn't do that. You didn't do this right. It's back to you. You didn't do that right. You didn't do that right. 2 more months.
Absolutely. And so forth. We like to use the analogy of, if you submit your tax return to the IRS, say you get audited, they have a bunch of questions, and you're spending weeks and months going back and forth till you get to, where you agree, this is accurate, your tax return. So think of it with your building plans, any revision or a cycle of a review, often these take 30, 45 days, 3-4 cycles of review. All of a sudden you've got this months of dead time. It's really expensive to carry land, to carry staff and to pay. Time is valuable, right? And so when we remove weeks and months from these processes, it's true ROI for the clients.
I get it. Makes sense. Ben, you have come from the Navy originally in nuclear and warfare background. So you're a Navy veteran. How has that helped you in the startup land?
Yeah, so I feel like blessed enough to have, joined the Navy by going to the Naval Academy and then serving about 9 years following commissioning as a nuclear engineer and a surface warfare officer. Look, leadership
has nothing to do with permitting, and I love it. It's great.
I think being able to learn very quickly, leadership, people management, being a founder, convincing people to work with you,
Yes.
coaching and mentoring, giving feedback, having hard conversations. This is like entrepreneurship is a people business. And, yes, we have all these technological tools, new AIs and things that help, somewhat enable and sometimes replace people. But, most of my day is managing and leading people and trying to inspire people and trying to support people,
Mm-hmm.
and, set goals and lead teams to achieving those goals. And so I credit the training from the Naval Academy and the Navy and the military to, and my co-founder was a Marine, served honorably for, many years as well. And so I feel in a way the people part, not say we're perfect, but we had incredible people training, which then allows us to go then focus on the new things we need to learn rapidly to help build a, high achieving organization.
So the last founder I just recorded with today was just saying, it's not about the tech. It's about the people. If you can't get the people on board to do it in the right direction and row the right way, forget it. It doesn't matter the tech.
Absolutely.
So,
like we are asking our team to do, change the future, and build the future as we see it. And it's hard. And, there's many wins and many losses and many in betweens. And, pushing and motivating and inspiring and leading people is a privilege and a huge responsibility. And we're just very blessed to be in this position.
What a beautiful way and response to that, Ben. Privilege. It's an honor. It's to be doing the hard things with people versus like, oh, I hate people management. It's the worst part. I'm like, whenever I hear that, just from like more of an investor lens, I'm like, oh, this is not going to go well because you're never going to get people to you.
We're very fortunate to be achieving levels of success today. We have a lot of hard work to do, ahead of us to build the future we believe the world needs. But credit is due to our entire team who are, delivering for our customers, working, for their teammates and for their teams and for GreenLite. And, we're just the beneficiaries of many other people's incredible devotion and hard work at GreenLite.
Is it harder than the naval submarine stuff?
I'd say like yes and no. Some examples of yes where it's harder is, when you're in the military, in my experience from the Navy, people raise their right hand and, pledge an oath to the Constitution and they sign up for a commitment, usually a couple years. You just can't quit the military when things get hard.
Listen,
you're at sea, stuck on a ship, or you're on a
you're not going anywhere.
You can't quit. What I have to remind ourselves too is people nowadays, they have the choice to work with us at GreenLite on this problem or not. And, that's a whole different way of thinking about how you motivate, retain, and inspire people, when they don't have that government contract around their neck. But it's great. So it's a different level of how you keep people inspired to keep working with you. And then, I always say like not easier, but we're not getting shot at. The nuclear reactor's not close to melting down. You're
not in a submarine with probably like 2 feet in front of you
for 7 months away from our families. So it's nice to kind of remind ourselves that, when things are hard here, there's many other people going through like, hardship elsewhere. And and
you're not in a submarine. Damn.
Which is super cool and great. And those guys and gals are doing God's work under the ocean. But
I love your perspective. You're like, oh, it's super great. I'm like, no, this is the worst ever. You being in a little test tube, basically underground. Oh God, no. Seeing a shark swim by, no, not for me.
It's amazing.
And that's a no for me. So that's a no for me. What became clear to you recently, Ben?
This is a great question. So I'm 40.
Me too. Welcome to the club. It's a great decade, apparently.
A great time of life.
It is.
And what's become clear is, if I live another 40 years, that is, doing better than the average American male. I think lifespan 74, 75 years. So the perspective of kind of midlife is real right now.
Yeah.
And it's just life is a miracle. It's precious and it's very short. And so like why live unhappy or dissatisfied?
Take a swing.
Take a swing. Like it has never, I think, been easier in human history to control your destiny, to take some risk, and to find opportunity. And again, life is short and precious. And if you're not happy with what you're doing, what you're working on, who you're spending your time with, where you live, you have all the agency to make that change and, pursue a life where you are happy and satisfied with what you're doing with your time and who you're doing it with.
Mm-hmm. I was just in here. So I'm at Village Global's offices right now. Shout out to Village Global, who's letting me park in their fabulous office. And Max, shout out to Max, who was just there, and he's in his mid-20s, and he's like, so what? So tell me, like, what is it like at 40? And I'm like, it's the freaking best decade you ever heard of, sir. Wait till you get here, yeah. Because also, I think about this, Ben, all the time, and we can like wrap it up with this of just the true perspective of, thousands of years ago, you'd already be dead.
Right.
You'd already be dead. You'd be dead at 26 or 22 or whatever. Like that was it. So this is all gravy. So yes, right. You getting to 80 is like exceptional. You have lived the full fucking life, basically.
Correct. And I think too, like the 40 years of like learning and perspective and experience, then, has enabled you to think if I get 40 more years in me, like, yes. What do I want to change? And like, what do I want to run at? And yes. What do I want to slow down on? And what I want to spend more time doing? And, you're always you're never as young as you were yesterday. So, to be able to think the 40 years behind, what do I want to do for 40 more years? It's like a really cool time of life.
This is okay. I had to pull it up just to make sure I'm quoting it exactly. But Carl Jung, do you know this quote about 40?
I don't.
Okay. We're going to end it with this because this is so good. Life really does begin at 40. Up until then, you were just doing research.
I like it a lot. I feel that. That's become
Me too.
It's become really clear.
Me too. Yeah. That's what has become. Exactly. To the question, what's become clear? Oh, everything before? This is research. Ben, okay, I got to go to a meeting down the street. So we got to wrap here, even though this is super fun and we can talk forever. But Ben Allen, thank you for being here.
Awesome.
You are the co-founder and let me make sure I get the whole thing right. Chief Business Development Officer, but basically everything else going on at GreenLite. Making permitting way, way faster because we need those buildings to be up and rolling and not dealing with government slog.
Well, thank you, Beck, for having us. Your team is incredible.
Thanks for the plug, Ben. Thanks.
Absolutely. Like partners in our growth and happy to do this anytime.
Anytime, Ben. Anytime. See ya. Have a good one. I'll see you in New York in a little bit too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.